Hey guys, I hope you're having a fantastic day. This is the continuation of our natural birth and pregnancy videos. I'm sharing my birth stories with you in hopes of encouragement and that you'll make your own birth plan, that you'll seek out the options that you want for your birth, whether that's natural birth, whether that's epidural, C-section. As long as you make the decision for you, that's what matters. So I'm sharing my natural birth for those who want to seek out a natural birth. And here are my stories. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So this is actually the story of my second born. And it was more amazing than my first, of course. I had educated myself more, learned a lot more, and of course I was in a very different spiritual place as well at this point. So if you remember, my firstborn came at 41 weeks. Literally from 38 weeks, the doctors were like, oh, you're gonna go any day, you're gonna go any day. It was so frustrating. And so here I was expecting it, and as my first child, they were like, oh, you're so ready, and nothing happened. So at 41 weeks, he was born. And so I was 39 weeks at this point with my second son, and we were laying in the bed getting ready to tuck in our firstborn and planning his day, because we were going to do a big hurrah, his last big hurrah before he became a big brother. So we were planning a day just for him. And my husband actually had just gotten home, like literally within hours. He had gotten home at like 5:30. This was 9:30 at night, from being out of town. We had started our own business, and so he was having to travel more, and I thought I had plenty of time. 39 weeks, my first one went late, so no big deal. So we were laying there planning everything, and I went, oh no, that was a big pop. Got up, ran to the bathroom, hollered and said, hey babe, my water just broke. And he came in there and he said, no, it didn't. And I said, yes, it just did. So I hollered at my son and I said, hey buddy, is it okay if we don't have your big day tomorrow and instead we have a baby? And he said, oh yeah, I was so excited. Went back to bed, went to sleep. My husband said, okay, what do you want me to do? And I said, just go back to bed. You can't do anything for me at this point. So go ahead and get you some rest, because you've been up since 5 a.m. so you're exhausted. And he said, are you serious? And I said, yeah, I'll wake you up when I need you. Just go back to bed. So he did. So now it's a big joke between he and his friends, because they're like, that's what you did? You seriously went back to bed? It didn't matter to me. I would rather him be rested and be able to help me later than be up with me and be miserable. So I called a friend of mine and said, hey, can you come on down here, get ready to stay with Jackson? So I walked around the house, I did dishes, I sung some worship music and danced, and just had an easy time hanging out, walking around, until it got to the point that I thought we probably needed to go to the hospital. So we started getting ready. I went ahead and woke my husband up and said, all right, let's get ready. Got in the shower, and then we left for the hospital. At that point, my contractions were getting stronger, and they were about 2.5 minutes apart. Now the hospital's only 5 minutes from our house, so I really wasn't that worried about things. So when I got to the hospital, I walked in. Now, mind you, and I left this out of the first story, I think, But when you go to the hospital in the middle of the night, the front doors are closed. And so you have to go in through the emergency room entrance. And then you have to walk down a long corridor to get to the main elevators and then go up to the birthing floor. So both times when I got to the hospital, that's what I had to do. And I was offered a wheelchair, but especially after the first time and not being up and mobile, I knew that I didn't want to sit down. And so I declined the wheelchair and just walked. And I would take a few steps and I go, okay, hold on. Let's get through this contraction. All right, we got a couple minutes, let's move. And then we'd walk a few more feet. So we got up to the birthing floor and they said, hi, can we help you? And I said, yeah, I need to go ahead and check in. I'm getting ready to have a baby. And they said, okay, how far apart are your contractions and has your water broken? I said, about 2 minutes, and yes. And they started panicking at that point. So we got to the room and they checked me and I was at 8.5 centimeters already. And so they said, oh my goodness, we got to get on the ball. Started panicking a little bit. I was like, it's really okay. So they got my gown on me and everything, laid me on the table and said, stay there, we'll get everything. And I said, oh no, if you're done with me while you're putting the table together, I'm going to get up and be standing because I'm not going to be laying here. And so she looks at me and she goes, okay, and do you have a birth plan on file with us? I said, yeah, actually I do. So we're getting everything ready to roll and I'm standing there and I start, I have my hands on my husband's shoulder. I'm swaying back and forth and I'm just saying, oh, Jesus be with me, and they're getting stronger and I'm like, okay, Father, come, Father, be in this room. Holy Spirit, I need your presence and your peace, and just praying through the contractions at this point. And I felt this incredible pressure. And I said, oh my goodness, I feel so much pressure right now. And she said, that means you need to be on this table now. And so, they leaned me back, and as I leaned back and got onto the table, he was crowning. The doctor was called at 3:11. My son was born at 4:11. So the doctor was literally just getting in the room, putting his gloves on as I'm crowning and the baby's getting ready to come out. It was another couple of strong contractions and a push, and he was out. He literally, you could see my stomach, his legs, he kicked off the inside of my stomach and pushed himself out. I should have known at that point he was going to be a whole different breed to deal with, because he's different for sure, but he's awesome. And so he pushed himself out literally, and I just reached down and caught him. Now, another fun twist in this story is that I told you the doctor was called at 3:11. My son was born at 4:11. He took the time to read my birth plan before he walked into the room, which was really cool, even though he got there as the baby was coming out. So a contraction started coming, because they hook you up and they can see on the monitor thing. And so one of the nurses actually started to go, okay, now just breathe and get ready to push. And the doctor looks at her and goes, I think she's doing fine. She doesn't really need your coaching. It's okay. And I was like, oh, you're awesome. Thank you so much. But he took the time to actually read through and know what I wanted, and that mattered a lot to me. I thought that was awesome from his perspective. So another natural birth in the hospital. Afterwards, the nurses actually came back and they said, we just want to thank you. We don't get the opportunity to see a natural birth in this setting a lot of times, to see what a woman's body can do, and thank you for that reminder. That was just amazing. So another huge part of the testimony of my second son's birth is my first son, I told you, was 10 pounds, 5 ounces. Oh my goodness. So everyone said, oh, your next baby's going to be bigger. You know, they get bigger each consecutive baby. And I was like, that ain't happening. No, not going to work for me. So I started praying. And I have no clue where 8'3" came from. No clue whatsoever. But I prayed for my second son to weigh 8'3". Again, no clue where that number came from. So I prayed it, I claimed it. After he kicks his way out, he, is on my chest for a little while, and they go ahead and weigh him. And my husband is standing there, and he goes, wow, babe, somebody called it. And I said, what? And he goes, guess what he weighs? I said, are you serious right now? He said, yeah, it's 8'3". And I just burst into tears. That my father cared that much about my desires, to answer my prayer in that way was huge for me. And it was another part of the testimony. The nurses were like, why does 8'3" matter? Blah, blah, blah. And I just said, that's what I prayed for him to weigh, that exactly. And they were like, you are kidding. That's crazy. No, it's amazing. That's how close our Father is to us. And his character and his love is so much deeper than we can understand for us. So anyway, that is the story of my second. And for my third, I actually got to have a home birth, and it was amazing and crazy. And the midwife didn't make it. So if you want to watch that video, go ahead and click on that one to watch. And it is an amazing story all the way around, because it's also the story of our promised girl. So thank you all so much for watching. And again, I hope this encourages you to do your own research and know that you can have a positive birth experience. The best thing you can do is to educate yourself and choose what's best for your family. So thanks so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.